Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We're live as always, downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. Paulie's out today, a little under the weather. JVT filling in. You're shaking your head.
No, it's just I was just looking baseball news in January, but I know we're waiting for.
I saw this. I know where you're going to go.
Sasaki and where he's going to ultimately end up. Shocker: the Dodgers and Padres are among the finalists here with the Toronto Blue Jays as well, and I'm sure the Dodgers will get him. And this will.
He'll make up his mind by January 23rd, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, so if he goes to the Dodgers, where do they go in terms of the future board? They're going to be the heaviest favorites that I can ever remember.
Yes. It's going to be so obnoxious.
I think I saw the other day that they're 2-1 at one book.
Yeah, so what are we talking like plus? I mean, they're 360 at DraftKings, like you said, 2-1 somewhere else. What are we talking? At least 2-1, probably universally, and then maybe shorter than that.
Wow,
that's so.
Oh my Lord!
Come on, please.
All right, let's get some best bets for tonight. Senior editor at the website VSiN.com. Zach Cohen joins the program now. Great Twitter handle. It's at Betting on X. Good afternoon, Zach. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing really well. What do you make of the game tonight now? The shift from L.A. to Arizona, Minnesota, a 2.5-point favorite in this game. They played before. Thursday night game. Rams got them 30-20. How are you going to approach this from point spread, total player prop perspective here?
Yeah, so I took the Vikings minus 139, but I'd be, happy to lay the 2.5 if you want to. I'm curious to see what the field looks like in terms of the fans. I think that a lot of people thought there'd be a really good turnout for the Vikings in LA if that game were to be played, at SoFi. And I'm wondering what it's going to look like, in this game in Arizona. But I still think that this team is just a little better than Los Angeles on both sides of the ball. They're very, very similar in terms of EPA per play, but, very different in EPA per play allowed. This Minnesota team was second in the league in EPA per play allowed this season. Los Angeles, was a bottom 10 team in that regard. I just think that this Vikings team, a lot of people want to say they have a bad secondary. Maybe they do, but Brian Flores is really, really good at disguising that. So I think they're going to get a lot of pressure on Stafford. The secondary will be just fine. I think Minnesota is going to be able to move the ball pretty easily. I think last week we saw Darnold play, maybe his worst game of the season, and I'd be really surprised if he did that again. There were a lot of throws that were there for him that, he was just a little bit high on. I think he's going to get them this week.
Are you going to go to the game?
I'm not going to go to the game.
Okay.
I'm a Howie Mandel type of hypochondriac, and there's these, there's this quademic going around, so I'm staying inside.
Come on now. It's in your backyard. I'd go take an opportunity to get this thing done. So nothing else for a player prop, anything like that's all you had for the game?
I also had Jordan Addison to score a touchdown at plus 140. And, it just really boils down to he had scored 5 touchdowns in the previous 4 weeks before that game last week. And Darnold missed him in the end zone again. They've been running a lot of really good plays for Addison to just kind of shake free behind the defense. And it's been happening, where he's pretty much unguarded in the end zone. And I think that there's going to be some opportunities there just because of how much, Justin Jefferson commands on his side of the field. There's opportunity for, guys like Addison to shake free on the other side of the field. And I think we're going to see that here.
Zach, I've noticed that sportsbooks have already put up a lot of player props for the divisional round. Have you taken a peek at that at all yet, or have you bet any sides in these matchups that we're going to have coming up next Saturday and Sunday?
I have not looked at player props yet. I do really like the Texans against the Chiefs. It's a little bit scary just because CJ Stroud has been, a Jekyll and Hyde act all season. And really, we have not seen the best of him at all. But I thought he played really well last week against Los Angeles. And I still think that Houston's defense is really good. I know there's been some very shaky performances this year. I know the division's not good, but we saw in a big, big game last week, they showed up on both sides of the ball. And I just think the Kansas City, they'll probably win this game, probably go on to win the Super Bowl, and I'll look like an idiot for doubting them all season, but I do think that the Texans can keep this game somewhat close.
All right, let's transition over to the NBA. Sneaky good card tonight while a playoff game is going on in the National Football League. For our audience, too, by the way, Draymond Green officially ruled out, so if you saw that line move, that is why he is ill and has a back issue. But let's go to one game that I know you had your eye on, but some injury news here. Memphis, Houston, 3.5 now in favor of Houston. Totals dropped to about 232.5.
Yeah, I'd be waiting on this game now because John Morant is now questionable, but I do like Memphis if he ends up playing. I'm not sure that's going to happen now, but I just think when you're looking at these two teams, the reason I liked it when I wrote it up when Morant was supposed to be playing is both of them are great defensively. Houston is just lacking a little bit offensively, and I think that Houston's also without Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr., not at full strength right now, and while the same is true of Memphis, they have most of their main guys, and I just think that Alperen Şengün, as good as he can be in the paint, the Grizzlies Grizzlies have some good answers for him with Jaren Jackson Jr., a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and Zach Edey, just a massive, massive human being. It's going to be hard for Şengün to kind of get himself going, and I don't trust the perimeter options for the Rockets against a really good defense.
All right. I was contemplating a prop bet tonight on Anthony Edwards with his threes. It's 3.5 tonight. Respectable juice. I have not bet it yet, but my arm is very twistable. Go ahead. Tell me why you like it.
Yeah, I took the over on 3.5 at -120. He's just been on fire lately. I believe he's made at least 4 threes in 7 of his last 9 games. Went 0-for-5 against Memphis last game, but that is a team that really defends the three-point line at a high level. The Wizards absolutely do not. They are second worst team in the league in terms of three-point makes for opponents this year. There's going to be some really good looks to go around in this game. I just think that Edwards, if they end up not blowing them out, if he has to play meaningful second half minutes, he's going to go over that 4 mark.
Yeah, and later tonight, too, one of the nightcap contests, San Antonio Spurs taking on the Lakers, 3.5, 221.5. But you got a player prop here, right?
Yeah, I have Julian Champagnie over 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is a really surprising line for me because he's averaging 12 points per game this season. He goes over it usually on his points alone. There has been some games lately where he has not played more than 20 minutes, kind of in and out in the doghouse for Johnson this year. But I do think that against the Lakers, a 37.7% three-point shooter is going to find some minutes just because Los Angeles does fall asleep defending that three-point line. You're going to want your best shooters out there. And he's played really well against LA this season, averaging 14 points, 6.5 rebounds per game in 2 meetings with them. I just thought this was a really, really low mark.
Do you think, by the way, I wanted to ask really quick. I know Thibodeau is a psychopath. Are they going to make Brunson play? It's a second leg. It's a back-to-back. It's the third game of 4 nights. Do you think he's playing tonight? He's a game-time decision.
I think so. I think that whenever the Knicks have guys that can play, if it's an option, they end up playing.
Oh, hold on. Do I not have this right? Brunson was hurt and injured yesterday against the Bucks, yeah?
Yeah.
And in a blowout, he came back in and played anyway?
I believe that was the case. Yeah, they scored like 140 points.
Yeah, it was never a game. They absolutely torched the Bucks. I'm watching the NFL. I'm getting reports saying, Brunson, this looks bad. He's back in the game. I'm like, wait a second here. What?
Get back out there, kid.
He showed some mercy. He took the starters out with like 5 minutes left in the fourth.
Up by 30.
But then he called them all pansies as they walked off the court.
Stepped on Brunson's toe.
No kidding. Anything else in the NBA?
No, that's it for me tonight.
Okay, Here you go. Tennis, one of your favorite sports to bet on, right? Aussie Open going on. Loaded card for you. What do you like?
Yeah, I love betting the Aussie Open. I've been stretching out my hours like a relief pitcher turning into a starter. I like Giovanni Pericard against Gael Monfils. It's about -128 right now. You're getting a better number on it than I gave out on the website. This is a 6'8" Frenchman with maybe the best serve in the history of tennis, which is a wild thing to say, but this guy is kind of like a Victor Wembanyama of tennis, and I think that he's playing against his fellow countryman, Gael Monfils, a 38-year-old that won a tournament last week, had to play 6 matches in a week. I think that Monfils is going to be very tired and is going to have a lot of trouble dealing with, the youngster's giant serve. So I'm playing in Giovanni Pericard money line. And I also really like Emma Navarro, -147 against Peyton Stearns. Navarro is an American that had 2 very deep runs at majors last year. She's off to a bit of a slow start in 2025, but she's just a really, really good big match player. And her opponent, Peyton Stearns, is a little bit shaky as a server and really shaky in big moments. That's going to be big for me at a major. I just think that for as good as Stearns is from the baseline, there are going to be opportunities for Navarro to just lean on her expertise that she got last year.
You're awesome in tennis. You love the sport, obviously. It comes right through as you're talking about it. Do you honestly, do you stay up and watch all of it when they play in Australia?
My wife loves it, but I just set a bunch of alarms for like 2 a.m., 4 a.m. If there are big matches, I'm waking up at really weird hours. I'm not staying up completely. I probably stayed up until like 12 last night, but if there are big matches at like 3 or something, I will get back up.
You will. That's dedication right there. Are you live betting as well or no?
Not really. I'm not big on live betting tennis. I don't really know why. I should be doing it a little bit more, but no, not live betting it.
I just fired, so I'm in. On the 2 plays. I got to watch something tonight. Let's do this
100%.
thing.
I'm doing it during the break.
They're actually pretty early, too, for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of them is like 6:45, isn't it?
Yep.
See?
Yep.
Okay, so it's coming up in a few hours right now. Then. That's it? Okay. Hey, Zach, that was awesome. Our audience can follow you on X. You're at Betting on X, and you have a ton of plays like every single day on the website, which is VSiN.com.
He's on Blue Sky, too.
Is it the same?
It's on Betting on Blue Sky? Is that what it
is?
is?
It betting on Blue Sky?
It's not betting on Blue Sky. I think it's Zachary Cohen, Blue Sky. I have no idea. They're very long, difficult names on that website.
Well played, though, JVT. Good luck tonight and this week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, there you go. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line.
Love Zach. Former trio, part of the trio of the Harvard Handicappers pod. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me about that podcast the other day.
Really? You're a liar.
Not lying.
I was going to say, you're lying. Why would you do that?
Because
I already get enough
you
from
were busting his onions, so now I had to give it back to you.
Hey, SiriusXM, you know what is back, though? Our channel. That's right. Go to channel 158, SiriusXM. We will be back on January 17th. Very much looking forward to it. The Sports Betting Network in its entirety on SiriusXM. And remember, of course, Dustin and Patrick back as well. VSiN Live on Mad Dogs. Check that out, 7 p.m. Eastern time every single day. That is live already. So you can check that out. But the full VSiN lineup back in your cars, 158 on January 17th.
I will throw this out there, though. I would do a podcast with you if we specifically talked only about betting futures.
Oh, I'd be down with it.
I think that'd be fun.
What do we call it? Back to the Future?
I haven't really thought about a name yet.
Oh, you got to come on, game plan it, make
but
PowerPoint.
Once or twice a week, maybe.
There you go. I was told it's an old segment. Back to the Future.
It is, yeah. Track to the Future.
Let's do it.
We haven't done that in a long time. Yeah, it was a good segment.
Let's do it. I think we could do that, right?
You're going to have something to talk about constantly,
all the time. Get into those baseball futures.
100%.
I love it.
Cross-sport parlays.
Had Brian Wu at 750 to 1 last year to lead the league in strikeouts. Did not come true, but I love that.
Those are fun to bet.
I was about to curse.
Yeah,
Let's get it done.
I was talking to Scott Sanders. He had his 50th birthday here this week. He loves betting the cross-sport parlays. Yeah, so he needs Ohio State to win the title for a big one. I want to run this down and get your opinion on this. Super Bowl MVP odds compared to their actually team's future number. We'll do that coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
More bets coming up, bottom of the hour. Adam Burke will join the program. Managing editor, VSiN.com. His thoughts on the game tonight, the divisional round and the national championship game as well. We are on X. I'm not on Blue Sky. I was told to go get on Blue Sky, but I want to get on another social media platform like I need a hole in my head. So I think I'm going to pass.
You kidding? Well, I mean, hopefully, we'll see what our supreme overlords do, but TikTok might be going to the wayside. So
that's what I heard. But that was supposed to happen like last year, 2 years ago, too.
The hearing's coming up on the 19th, I think, something like that. You know,
yeah.
I'm tracking it closely.
I honestly know nothing about Blue Sky. Nothing. I've heard of it. I know nothing about it.
There's a lot of jokes I can make, but yes.
Okay. On X, Connor Clancy says, a futures podcast, where can I subscribe? Well, I just put it out there on the air right now. Yeah. Okay. Colin says, I am so in on the futures pod. Hey, whatever happened to that Hardwood Handicappers pod? That was a good one. See? So genuinely somebody's asking.
Yeah, the Hardwood Handicap, the first one, him and my mom. Hardwood Handicappers actually does live on. It's just our group chat that we have. You should see the info and the things we talk about in this thing. It's great.
I don't want in. I can't stand group text messages.
It's the only one. There was a point where I was like, why aren't I in more? And then I realized that I'd probably hate my life. Because there are times I very much find Kelly and Zach to be my friends. But there are times during prime time, especially when the games are on, especially I have the watch now too, my wrist will be buzzing over and over and over again because they're going back and forth about stuff when they're in the games. And I'm like, all right, I kind of get this at some point.
This is how much I hate group text messages. There isn't another fantasy football format that I like even remotely close compared to guillotine leagues, right? Yeah. At guillotine leagues with Paul Charchian, it's the best format to ever play. I love it. I'm addicted. I want to play in 100 of them. I already made up my mind based on one guillotine league that I'm in. And it's like 18 people, right? So for some reason, they started a group message at the beginning of the year. It's still going on.
Why?
But if I don't want to be that guy who leaves the message, the group, and then that's going to pop up on their phones.
Who cares? Rip the Band-Aid off.
So rather than that, I'm going to passive-aggressively tell them, next year, I can't handle another guillotine league. I'm out. I'm specifically not going to join that league because I cannot handle. You should be locked up. 18 people on a group message. You should be locked up and throw away the key.
You will be in on this because you and I are in the same fantasy baseball league that Dustin Sweetelson invited us to. that group chat and that league makes me want to record myself jumping off a cliff and sending it to them. This is what you did to me.
The only reason why I'm going to be in that league again this year is because I have Paul Skeens and he's like in the 17th round.
Yes, it's a dynasty league for audience.
That's the only reason. Otherwise, oh my God, I totally forgot about that, by the way.
They make me want to run upon my own sword. They are something else.
By the way, you did save my Saturday. I had to an emergency run to get a new cell phone.
Okay.
Because my phone all of a sudden, like last Sunday, it would go from 80%. I brought this up on the air with Paulie. It would go from like 80% charged to shutting off. And then it was in the red. I'm like, how is this happening? So on Friday and Saturday, I was away from Lorraine and Sebastian on Friday night playing in a slot tournament. So my phone kept shutting off. And I was actually going to come down here and be a part of the ceremony at the winter ceremony for Circus Survivor Millions. And I'm like, well, my phone is just, I can't turn it back on. And when I would turn it back on, it would automatically shut back off. And it told me it was charged like to 80%. So I had to go get a phone on Saturday. Just had to do it. I had to make that executive decision. I sat in my car, long story short, listened to you and Will Hill. You saved my afternoon, and you were discussing the Chargers game the entire time. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
Did a great job telling me what was going on in the game.
I appreciate that. I love those Saturday shows. Like, those are such great windows, the playoff games. Bar Canada is an awesome setup. You and I both have the radio background, so it is very similar to doing, like, live remotes.
Yeah.
Where you're out in the public. I'm a people guy. Like, I like people watching. Luke may or may not have roped me into, after the show, having drinks and just really getting into the environment. So,
yeah, sure.
Very, very much into it. But thank you. Appreciate it. That was very fun.
That was really cool.
And we get another one next week. There is a 1:30 kick next Saturday, I believe. So that'll be good.
I think it's 1:30, 4:30 Eastern, 8 o'clock Eastern, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so, predominantly speaking here, the quarterback of the Super Bowl winning team has won the MVP at an overwhelming clip for 58 straight years, right? So it hasn't been all 58 straight years. We're going to go back to Super Bowl one. You get my point, right? Mm-hmm. It happens way more for a quarterback than anybody else. You all know this probably by now. So is it smarter right now to look at quarterbacks, if you really love a team to win the Super Bowl, like you love Baltimore, I'm really high on Baltimore, to look at, like, and maybe not just the quarterback, but you can add maybe another player or two if you would like right now, rather than like the team's future number. Because here's where I'm going with this. If you look at DraftKings, right, the shortest team on the board right now, the favorites, if you will, are the Detroit Lions. They're 3-1. You can get Goff at 6-1, Gibbs 17-1. I also look, they have Aiden Hutchinson, who might play if they go that far. He's 150-1.
So I agree with the general premise, right? Like, I'd rather take Lamar Jackson at this point right now, because generally the futures markets, like when you're talking about just win the Super Bowl, everything's been sapped out of it. So
for sure,
you don't really want to go that route. So if you're going to do something, I'd rather bet Lamar Jackson at plus 550 to win Super Bowl MVP than I would Lamar or Baltimore at like plus 450 or 4-1.
It does make a little bit of sense.
Yes. And I don't like to get cute with trying to go the other directions. I've seen like the Aiden Hutchinson thing or some of these other defenders. Like, you can't really talk me into getting that deep on the board because, like you have mentioned, there's overwhelming evidence that that's not going to happen.
Sure.
We had a kid pick off a pass to win a Super Bowl, and Tom Brady got MVP, right? Like, I find it really hard that that's going to be the case, but I would generally go down this path of, if I'm going to get into something now, I'd rather bet a guy like Lamar to win MVP and be sitting on that going into the Super Bowl when he's going to go, what? I mean, depending on who you're playing, probably sitting around, 2-1, something like that. Even less
I don't
to win MVP.
Yeah, because they'll be
depending on who they're going to play, but they are the highest power rated team in the NFL.
Ravens are favored over the Lions.
I think they are the highest power rated team. I would.
Yeah,
assume.
I think they'd be 1.5 probably in that
Correct.
game. So then he'd probably be. Oh my God! I mean,
even money.
Like yeah. Here's another. Like, Chiefs are plus 350. How many players can you make a case for on the Chiefs? I think it's only one.
Yeah.
Kelsey's 45-1. I don't think he can win because When the Chiefs beat the 49ers the first time around, a handful of years ago, I thought Damian Williams was the MVP. Mm-hmm. He was awesome. But then he had that late touchdown run, and they're like, yeah, we had to submit votes before that. Well, how dumb is that? So they just gave it to Mahomes by default. Yep. But there isn't another player on the Chiefs that I would want other than Mahomes. The Eagles are plus 450 to win the Super Bowl. Hurts is 10-1. Barkley's 12-1. See, this is where I think you can make a case for several guys.
Yes.
I'd rather have the Eagles on a ticket to win than any player.
Yes, there's more outs there. I think, like for me, for Philly, there's, I would say, 2.5 guys Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, maybe A.J. Brown.
Maybe A.J. Brown.
I think for Baltimore, there's 2 guys.
Do the Eagles have a defensive player that could do it?
I mean, I guess theoretically like a Slay if he's picking off like 3 passes. But again,
Braun, Jalen Carter.
Even in that instance, wouldn't you rather, once the game is here,
just
try to find...
Because you're going to get huge numbers anyway.
That or like Darius Slay 2+ interceptions in the game, right? Price shop there as opposed to MVP. But yeah, like there's a couple of teams. I think Detroit, off the top of my head, Detroit, Philly, Baltimore would be the 3 teams that really stick out as like multiple outs to potentially win a Super Bowl.
You got one guy.
One guy. That's it.
Derrick Henry's 22-1 right now.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a path where he can win the Super Bowl MVP.
Like that's why I include them, right? Those 2. It's Derrick Henry, it's Lamar Jackson.
Okay, let's say that the Ravens-Steelers game that we just saw on Saturday was the Super Bowl. Who would win the MVP?
Man, I always find it. The voters. I hate this is an insulting term, but they're simpletons.
You think it would have been Lamar?
I think they would just go Lamar.
I think they would too. Although Henry had a great case.
He did. Like
right?
I always go back to, again, I'm a Colts fan. I say it all the time. Dominic Rhodes should have won Super Bowl MVP when they beat the Bears that year.
I don't remember that game that well.
Peyton Manning had 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
That's
the lone
right.
touchdown was to a wide open Reggie Wayne because his defender slipped in the rain.
And he got the MVP?
And Dominic Rhodes dominated on the ground. I even think he ran for 100 yards. I couldn't remember. But Rhodes was great in that game. And Peyton Manning won the MVP.
Of course. Here's another one, too. The Commanders are 25-1. First of all, you're better at doing a rollover parlay starting this week just to bet them on the money line to beat the lines and then continuing with that. But Daniels is 30-1. He's the only guy on the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think that's like we said. I think that's it. Like the other teams, you're going with one dude.
Vikings, Darnold 25.
I guess that's the one, right? That's
Jefferson,
the other team we should include.
Addison.
Yeah,
I actually think they have a defensive player that could do it.
Yeah,
either Van Ginkel or Grenard.
Yep,
come to mind.
It would be great, but I think you're right. That's another one we should have included if they make it.
I'll tell you this: if the Texans would shock the world, they have a ton of guys.
Sure.
Hell, just based on Saturday again, how the seasons that Anderson and Hunter have had on the D line and then Stingley.
I was gonna say if they make a run, that's the team you could convince me. Let's look at some defensive dudes.
No doubt.
Yep.
Hunter and Stingley right now 500-1.
Man, I can't wait for the big game. And we're getting ready for Big Game 59 with the deal of the match. Save $59 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription when you sign up using promo code FTM. Become a VSiN Pro annual subscriber. Get it. Everything we do, the daily best bets, the betting splits from both DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access, and all of our betting guides and picks, Super Bowl, March Madness, and more. Don't miss out. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code is FTM. Just those 3 letters. Save $59 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription. VSIN.com/subscribe.
Adam Burke joins the program coming up next. Managing editor, VSiN.com. We'll get his early read for the divisional round in the NFL playoffs and find out how he bet this Rams-Vikings game. That's coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Huge game tonight, National Football League.
Oh.
The final one. Well, are you being a little pessimistic here? What's your problem?
No, I thought that you were I thought you were being sarcastic. You were going to go like, hey, Alabama and A&M and Jackson State.
No, God, I can't even joke around about the college basketball card. But maybe our next guest, Adam Burke, joins the program now. He is the managing editor over at our great website, VSiN.com, and he is on the Progressive Guest line. Good afternoon, Adam. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm good. It is a big slate in college basketball. There's no doubt about it.
It's about as dead of a slate as you're ever going to find. Maybe you have a bet. We'll find out here coming up in a few minutes. I know that you did bet this Monday night game that we have tonight between the Rams and the Vikings. What did you settle on here between these two?
Yeah, I wound up taking over 47.5 in this game. I mean, in the first game that we had, I know it was on a short week. I know Minnesota was in a really bad spot, right? Coming off the Lions loss. They had to fly all the way out to California, play in that game. But Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay's offense handled the blitz extremely well in that game. In fact, Stafford wasn't even pressured in that game. So they had the right game plan. Also, they used Kyron Williams a little bit more as a receiver in that one than what we've seen throughout the course of the season here. I think they're going to be able to move the football. And Sam Darnold played well in that first game against the Rams as well. So I think both quarterbacks actually find some success in this game tonight. Obviously, it's a little bit of a strange situation, playing in a neutral site and all of that. But Stafford's been great with very little time to throw. Pro Football Reference says he has a 17-4 touchdown interception ratio with less than 2.5 seconds in the pocket. So I think the Rams can score. I think the Vikings will score in this game too. I like the over 47.5 in this one. as far as a side goes, you could tell me this game ends any number of ways. Vikings win, Rams win, Vikings blowout, Rams blowout, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I just kind of thought that the over was something that, had a little bit more predictability to it than either side for this game.
Yeah, well said. Well said there. Looking ahead to the divisional round, I made one bet so far, and it was as soon as the line came out yesterday, I grabbed Baltimore plus 106. On the money line, my thinking was there was no way it was going to go up from 1.5 to 2, or certainly not to 2.5. It would never touch 3, with Buffalo being the favorite here. And I just think that this is going to go back and forth maybe all week long on the money line, right, where Buffalo might end up going off as like a 1-point favorite overall. But did you bet that game, or did you grab anything else in the divisional round?
No, I haven't grabbed anything yet. I am pretty interested in Washington plus 9.5 here. I think it's just such a high variance game.
Yep.
Between the Commanders and the Lions. I mean, obviously the total implies that with a total of 55.5. I mean, we know that Jared Goff has played really well. Obviously, it was important for them to get the number 1 seed, so he's able to stay indoors throughout the course of the postseason here. But Jaden Daniels just kind of carries this team all over the place for Washington, and he's done a really, really good job ever since it seems like he's kind of gotten a little bit healthier from the rib injury that he had, about a couple of months ago now, whatever that was, 6 weeks ago. He's kind of getting back to normal here, where he's hanging in the pocket a little bit more. He's willing to make some more plays kind of with his legs. Of course, we saw that third down play that he made yesterday. I think they're going to be able to score in this game. We kind of thought that Aiden Hutchinson going down for the Lions would kind of expose some weaknesses on defense. It took a while, but we eventually got to that point. I think people may have forgotten about that a little bit with how well they played against the Vikings in Week 18. So I think Washington plus 9.5 is probably going to be my favorite side here of the divisional round. And I don't know what to do with that Baltimore and Buffalo game, where I know Baltimore dominated the first game, but I don't know. There's just something about it that kind of feels to me like Buffalo is going to be the side in this game. That being said, I mean, I know it's a little bit of a higher scoring total, 51.5, but you're going to see if this line kind of stays where it is and you do maybe get the 1.5 that's out there or something like that, you're going to see so many Chiefs and Bills teasers out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how those play out.
Yeah, are you going to be on them? You like this Chiefs team?
I don't like this Chiefs team, but the problem is I don't really like this Texans team much either. I mean, obviously they overcame, a very slow start there in that game against the Chargers, but this kind of feels like what we saw last season for Houston, where they're at home, they blow out the Browns in a spot where they're not getting any respect whatsoever. Kind of a similar thing here with the Chargers. And then they went and lost in pretty lopsided fashion to Baltimore, although the Ravens did score a bunch of points in the fourth quarter as Houston just kind of ran out of gas in that one. I could see this game playing out in similar fashion. So maybe Houston first half, as we start to see that market kind of set up shop a little bit and settle in. That may be something I take a look at in that game.
Yeah. By the way, what you were saying about the Detroit-Washington game is exactly what I was thinking. So many different possible outcomes. Like, you could tell me that this is going to end with a Lions blowout, a Washington win. Nothing's going to surprise me at all here.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just look at the variance level of this game with a total in the mid-50s. I mean, we see that in the NFL playoffs because you've got so many gifted quarterbacks that are out there. But, we see it here in this game because these two defenses are very suspect. And, I mean, Jared Goff has played well at a top 10 type of level. He's not an elite quarterback like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, anything like that. So I do think that this is the type of game where we will see, a lot of points, a lot of back and forth. Daniels is taking good care of the football, which is really important, I think. I just think that the Commanders, I mean, this could be a last possession wins type of game. And if that's the case, then Washington's not getting blown out here.
I mean, adding to the variance, over under 8.5 fourth down attempts between the two teams.
Oh, we need a prop on that, actually.
Right? I mean, that would be a fun market to put up there. How many fourth down attempts between these two teams in this game?
That's a great
Commanders
call.
went for it on, 5 fourth downs yesterday? So
at least 4 that were in field goal range.
Yeah. I think there were 3 of 5 on fourth downs.
3 and 5 overall.
Yeah.
I'll ask both you guys this, because a lot of the talk is always going to be about rookie quarterbacks starting on the road. Well, Daniels was last night. Bo Nix, obviously another guy. It does not typically go well for that quarterback in that spot, but don't we feel like Jaden Daniels is maybe built a little bit different? Like, this guy is up here in a separate tier compared to a lot of these other rookie quarterbacks from previous years?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is, the guy played a lot of college football. I mean, he was in a lot of those pressure cooker types of situations where I realize it's a massive step up in class going from the college game to the NFL game. But, he never really looked super rattled in most of those games at the collegiate level. I know there were some that maybe didn't go in his favor or something like that. But it wasn't because he was rattled. Maybe a defensive back just made a play or something like that. He's a guy who seems to be really, really composed. And, to shy away from just using cliches about it, he does feel different. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's mobile, right? He is able to extend plays, and guys are able to come back to the football. Guys lose coverage, stuff like that. He's a guy that doesn't just have to go to his first read. He can go to the second, third, maybe even fourth read. Yep. And I think that's something that when you talk about, going on the road in the playoffs, kind of overcoming some of those things where, the protections break down or whatever, it's important to have that kind of skill set, and Daniels does.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, he seems to be unflappable, to use the term. I have been very wrong about this team throughout the entire year. So I am trying not to overcorrect and go in the other way. But I've been wildly impressed because I did have such low expectations coming in.
All right, fair enough. Adam, you're a Buckeyes guy. What do you make of the...
What's your worst nightmare?
If they actually lose the game,
I told him I keep telling this story. That what do I keep telling the story about, Adam? We were there having drinks during the Tennessee game, and I told him, I was like, if you had to choose, Ryan Day is going to lose like 2 more to Michigan, but he's going to win this national championship. And he had to think about it, and it's the worst scenario because they might win this thing, and then they're going to lose to Michigan next year. Oh, buddy.
They better not lose 5 in a row to Michigan. I'll just say that. Look, I think what really bothers me about this whole thing is they may be the national champion. They should be the national champion, right? I mean, they should beat this Notre Dame team. Riley Leonard is not on the level of the other quarterbacks they've beaten here already. And of course, they're over a touchdown favorite. So, the market just kind of implies they should win this thing. But it still bothers me that Michigan's going to go, yeah, well, we have a title and we beat you. So, what happened last season, Ohio State's going to have to rectify that here at some point. But I don't think I will have a bet on the game. I'm not going to do the emotional hedge. I'm not going to take Notre Dame. I don't think they're live enough for me to want to do that. But I also don't want to lay the 8.5 with Ohio State here either. I mean, Notre Dame's pass defense is very, very legit. Their defense as a whole is very legit. I don't think they score much on Ohio State, though, and that would probably be how the Buckeyes end up covering the 28-14 type of thing, like what they had against Texas. So, as more markets populate throughout the course of the week here, and this is kind of a little bit of a dress rehearsal for the Super Bowl in terms of the offering that's going to be out there with all the player props and all that kind of thing. Notre Dame team total under is something that I may be kind of looking to key in on here, or looking to play, certain players under their player prop totals for Notre Dame. Because I just don't think they find a lot of holes against this Jim Knowles defense, because frankly, nobody has, throughout the second half of the season here.
So just to confirm, even with the Buckeyes national championship, you're still not going to be satisfied. Okay, got it.
Can Ryan Day be the first coach to win a national championship get fired afterward?
Interesting. Yeah. Put that prop up too. Vile and nasty college basketball card. We have a minute here, but you have a bet. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to find something here since I write an article Monday through Saturday over at VSiN.com. A lot of SWAC, MEAC, Southland tonight. Deep one bid leagues here. I like NC Central. They're a 6-point favorite against Delaware State. It was 6.5 at DraftKings. I still use their odds because they're widely available to everybody with that article. But I think NC Central is just a better team. Delaware State settles for a lot of mid-range jumpers. North Carolina Central's rim and 3 rate, their shot attempts at the rim and their 3-point rate much, much higher. So I think that, in a game that should be played to probably about 70 possessions, they have a better chance at scoring in threes, and Delaware State's going to try to score with those long twos. So I think NC Central is worth a look tonight, -6 over Delaware State.
Very good. Follow Adam on X. He's at Skating Tripods. He does a great job up every single day on the website at VSiN.com. Thanks, Adam. Good luck tonight.
Have a good one, guys.
Back at you. Our best bets, in-pocket plays, and which team screws up the moneyline parlay next.
To determine the winner of any given college basketball game.
Someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything. You take it. Take it. Take it.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day. No way. I'll give you 3 to 1 odds. Nope. 5 to 1. Nope. 10 to 1. You're on.
We're grading the plays from the weekend. A couple of player prop losers. Derrick Henry over 5.5 receiving yards. Did not have a catch in the game against the Steelers. And this is an observation last night on the Buccaneers-Commanders game. partially. You can probably tell here that I bet McMillan over 51.5, and I'm a little bitter here. I thought Mayfield, though, the whole game was focusing too much on Mike Evans.
Sure.
He was looking for him every single time he dropped back to pass.
And McMillan had some pretty good plays. Evans, man, though, every time I watch him, I am very impressed. The extension to get the first down, he is an absolute animal. I
think that without even looking, I would say that Mike Evans has to be in the conversation. Well, for like most prolific wide receivers of all time, isn't he like got to be top 10 at this point?
Oh, yeah. He's got to be. I mean, would think at some point he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, right? With a consistent body of work.
Oh, he has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
And to your point, too, 7 targets to Evans for 4 to McMillan. Saw 2 of them.
That the most obvious money line parlay in the world got there with like 0 challenges.
Yep.
It happened to be too easy. Ravens, Eagles, Bills money line came in at plus 102.
The only time you sweated was when Sean Payton arrogantly called the big touchdown at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And then it was nothing.
Yeah. Did the Packers ever threaten the Eagles?
Not really.
16-10?
Yeah, they made it 16-10, but then immediately they extended it back out, and then obviously the penalties near the end and everything kind of killed them. Never really sweated it too much, though.
All right, this is pending Ohio State to win the national title, plus 115. Puka Nacua tonight, over 7.5 receptions, laid 20 cents with that prop. And onward and upward for tonight. A couple of basketball plays that I have. I'll get to those in a second. Ravens plus 106 money line at the Bills. Could get out of it like I talked about if I want to. I just thought that number was going to disappear and go bye-bye for the rest of the week. Bet Jalen Green, a very small ladder prop bet for me tonight. Over 2.5 threes, I laid minus 155. Over 3.5 smaller bet, I laid got plus 165. Last 4 games for Green with no Jabari Smith, averaging 12 attempts, hitting 5.3 of them. That's 44%. Mm-hmm. They just played. He only took 8 attempts, but I like my chances. Like, I think he's going to hit at least one of these, if not 2. I feel pretty confident if he's taking 10, 11, 12, 13 threes again tonight. So that's why I made the bet.
Yep. Don't disagree, baby. All right, a couple of these here. Grizzlies, Rockets, under 234 in the NBA tonight to keep that vibe going. This has dropped a bit. This is due to the status of one John Morant. We will see if he ends up playing here. Was probable, but got downgraded to questionable. Downgrade's never really great, but 2 good defensive teams who have answers for each other's biggest offensive weapon. So under 234 there between those two. In football tonight, Vikings -2 against the Rams. Again, we'll just go back to the simple handicap here. On a neutral, I believe the gap between these two teams is larger than what the market is telling me. So I will stick to my guns and roll with the Vikings. And to that point, too, again, the simple handicap, you're going to give me one of the best defenses in the NFL. And you're going to tell me I got to get 94 reception yards for a single receiver to beat me. I'll take my shot and go under 93.5 with Puka Nacua tonight. Make sure you check out everything we have to offer, including our big game deal. As we get ready for Big Game 59, you can use it. Use the code FTM and save $59 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription. Daily best bets to help cash more tickets. The betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. 24/7 video access. And our betting guides for the upcoming events like the Super Bowl, March Madness. Don't miss out. VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code FTM. Save $59 off a VSiN Pro annual sub. VSIN.com/subscribe.
Now that I finally figured out how to use the VSiN picks page and post plays on my own.
Yeah.
I'm doing that over the weekend as well. One play I put up on the page yesterday, I text you about this as well. Once we learned that a bunch of guys were back for the New Orleans Pelicans in the NBA, how were the Celtics laying 15? Zion was back. Murphy was playing in the game. McCollum was playing in the game. Right? They had like a bunch of their players back in the game. The Celtics aren't good at covering numbers this year. They're laying 15 in that game.
Yeah, we texted briefly. And to top it off, like you mentioned, the 5th worst cover team in the NBA per percentage, covering just 39.5% of their games.
Way too big of a number.
Yep. And it proved to be true.
Okay. I want to say like the next game that they play, will it be too much as well? They play the Raptors coming up tomorrow night.
I would say on the surface, yes. Toronto's actually been a pretty good cover team, although it's really slipped off. But they're like 5th or 6th best by ATS standards.
That's Wednesday night, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've
actually been good at covering these big numbers.
They can't get a win to save their lives. But they will stick around inside some of these big spreads.
Okay. So I just told you that, one of my winners over the weekend was that 3-team money line parlay. Let's move on to this week. Who screws up this money line parlay? Well, we'll combine NFL and college. Chiefs laying this number against the Texans, which they're 8.5. Lions, they're laying 8.5 against the Commanders at home. or the Ohio State Buckeyes in the national title game?
I mean, I guess if we're picking all of them, I think Detroit could be an obvious answer. Right? You said Detroit, didn't you?
Yeah.
Only because of what we know about them defensively. And like you said, a lot of different results outside of Washington, like smoking them 40-10, would not be surprising. So if you were to tell me right now, like come in from the future and say, hey, Jaden Daniels led them to like 31 points and they won 31-28. Like, oh, okay. I think that's one of the plausible outcomes here.
I think so too. That would have to be the number one team that I would pick. And then who's more? I know the point spreads are the same. So based on probabilities right now, you're not going to have a strong opinion, or some people would not, but more likely to lose, the Chiefs or the Buckeyes?
I'm going to go with Ohio State only because we saw a little like Michigan version of Ohio State, right, in that game against Texas, where after like one strong drive, the second, by the way, Trayvon Henderson redeems himself before halftime, but the punch in the face where it looked like they had a 2nd and 7 on the Texas 38, that drive implodes.
Don't you think that they were extremely fortunate to win that game?
I think they were to an extent, yes. Like they defensively, I thought they played well enough, but offensively, they were all over the place after those first 2 drives. They looked like the Michigan version of themselves, where Chip Kelly's calling runs up the middle to nowhere. The offense is not really in a flow. Howard, it's funny, we were watching the game on the air, and I mentioned to Matt, I'm like, Will Howard's really throwing some windows, like some balls into some tight windows. I don't know if that's just because he's feeling it, or if eventually he's going to start putting this ball in danger.
Sure enough,
it was the latter. He started putting the ball in danger. I don't. And by the way, to the extent of like what we were talking about with Washington, at the very least in this college football playoff, I have bet against Notre Dame twice, and I have failed both times.
Yeah.
So to talk about teams you don't have a read on, Notre Dame would be that team for me.
Okay, so Paul Stone crushed that game with us, by the way.
Yeah.
And one of his bets that he had was Jeremiah Smith under his receiving yards prop, and he had 3 yards in the game. So I have not watched a replay of the game yet, but watching some stuff that came out from like film analysis and photos of the game, Texas, they were using 3 guys to bracket Smith during the game, and it clearly worked. And it was a difficult game for Ohio State to win. I wonder if Notre Dame pulls off the same defensive strategy for the game. They're just like, anybody else can beat us, not this guy.
I think you at least take a flyer out, right? I mean, Smith was, like you said, absolutely non-existent in that entire game.
Sure.
Couldn't do anything to get to him, which is surprising, too, because, Mike Buka is not terrible.
Oh, he's
right.
God, I love the guy.
But the offense was just stuck in neutral outside of some big explosives throughout the entirety of that game, and that was a big part of it. So you would think you're at least taking a piece of that, and then you do wonder, too, like at some point, does Notre Dame start to feel the effects of some of these injuries they're suffering, especially up front?
Of course. That's my biggest concern for the team.
Does all of a sudden, do we show up and then all of a sudden Quinshon Judkins and Henderson are just running all over the place and they're absolutely demolishing this front 7, which has been pretty banged up? Like, I don't think that would be too surprising, but so far, the flash in the pan seems to be the 2 beatdowns of Tennessee, Oregon, because that looked like the Ohio State team that we were all asking questions about on Friday night.
Well, I will say this, and today, by the way, side note, it was a great day for Penn State. Both running backs are coming back.
Yep.
Drew Aller is coming back. So looking at next year, teams to win the future or to bet on for the future, here's the thing. There's one team that you want to bet on for next year or actually consider. I would not do it at this point. Let me rephrase, because the current number is too low. But that team is Texas next year. With the talent that they have all over the defensive side of the ball. And by the way, no more Quinn Ewers, which means complete upgrade at quarterback with Arch Manning. I could not believe, I still can't, what was with the play call at the goal line on the pitch 7 yards back. How do you do that? How do you not bring an Arch Manning there if you're going to get blown away by that?
They brought him in for one play.
I was,
and it was like arguably the biggest play of the game outside of the goal line plays. And you need the 4th down. Go get it, kid.
And I have Ohio State pending plus 115 to win the national title, and I'm blown away at the play calling there. By the way, so you're in today for Paulie. Mm-hmm, what does that mean for VSiN primetime tonight?
Scott Seidenberg's going to be in, and I will be sticking around for VSiN primetime pregame crosstalk as we get ready for the playoff game.
Okay, so it's you and Scott for the next hour?
Yes.
Okay, very nice.
Matt Humans will be in at 5.
And at 5, okay. You like the Vikings tonight?
I do. Stick to the guns. Let's do this thing.
I cannot wait to yell at you if Sam Darnold's bad again.
Oh, I know. Just play the result. Don't do it now. That's what you're supposed to do. Just wait. Well, and if he's good, don't mention anything.
This is a tricky one to figure out.
What if he's awful, but they still win?
I can see it. The defense is really good, as you pointed out. No, I lean towards what you're saying is that the game against the Lions, fluky here, and he's going to come back and play solid tonight. Good luck betting. We'll see you.